Hello everyone, welcome to this tutorial and thank you for choosing mine. So to start programming, like anywhere you want to start, first thing you need to know, which is also common in almost every language, like they have slight differences. But like first thing is types, and to have a basic review on types, like is a very sophisticated part of programming and is not so brief. But like as we want to start, we need to know what basic types of types are. So um, we first go to the built-in ones, which we use the most in our beginning projects. So the first type that we use in programming is, integers. So we use integers as one of our main types. What are integers? There are numbers that accept mathematical operations, for example, addition, subtraction, and so on, and do not have decimals. So let's say number 5 is an integer, but number 5.6 is something else. Even 5.0 is not an integer. 5.0 is in terms of value equal to 5, but they are two different types, integers and floats. But we will get to floats later. Let's get started on integers. So the first thing that we ever know about a number when we see 15, the first thing that we think about is integer, is a number which has a value of 15. So first thing that we can do with integers is adding them together. For example, 15 plus 23 equals 38. Or we can subtract them, like 23 minus 15 is 8. And also, we can multiply them, like 15 times 23 is a big one, so I'll go just to 5 times 3 is 15. And also, we have division. Like, we have two types of division. One is integer division and one is float division. But like in Python, we have a distinct operator for both of them, which we use one slash, like one forward slash for float division and two forward slashes for integer division. So what's the difference? Float division, let's say 10 divided by 3 gives us 3.333 in normal cases. So what your math teacher is looking for when you're taking a math test is 3.33. But if you wanna just ignore the decimal part and just throw it away, you do an integer division where 10 divided by 3 equals 3 itself and doesn't have any decimal. So this is how these two operators are different. So even if it's like 20 divided by 3, which is 6.66, float division doesn't round it up. It just throws it down, which is 6 itself, like not 7. It just returns 6. And for integer division, it returns, like float division, it returns 6.66. And integer division, it returns only 6. Okay, so let's see what happens in languages other than Python, for example, Java or C++. So whenever you're dividing two integers, so when you're programming in Java or C++, you will declare from before that what type is that variable going to represent. So if you're dividing two integers, the answer will be always an integer division. We don't have any way to divide an integer by another integer and have a float answer. There's no way. The only way is that you convert them to floats and then you divide them by each other, which always gives you a float division. Where like whenever you're dividing 10 by 3, you will get 3. But when you're dividing 10.0 divided by 3.0, you will get 3.33 and etc. So for the remainder operator, so when you want to divide 10 by 3, say like 10 and 3 are both integers. What will you get if you divide 10 by 3? You will get 3, but like 3 times 3 is 9. So how much does it take to get 10? So 1. So 9 plus 1 is 10. So the remainder is actually the remainder of an integer division where like they ignore part. Like 0.33 times 3, which is 1, is like the remainder, or which is shown with the percent sign. But like we have another operator for power, which is only in Python, that it's only in Python like as an operator, but we have functions in other languages. For example, in Java, we have a math library, where in the math library we have a function which does the power for us. But we don't need to worry about functions for now, as we are going through the Python language after this tutorial. So when you want, like this one does the power, for example, 2 to the power of 3, which is 8. Also, it can take it to the power of a decimal, for example, 2 to the power of 0.5, which is something around 1.4, which is the square root of 2. Also, like these are phrases that we will understand later. Types, for example, integers and strings, and also floats, are not passed by reference. So if you have a variable holding a value of 10, for example, you want to do a function on it. So, okay, we will get to pass by value and pass by reference when we get to functions. But just remember by now that they're pass by value and they do not accept indexing. For doubles, they are the same as integers, but like as I said, double and floats accept decimals. They can be point zeros are also floats and doubles, but they're different than integers, where only in terms of their integer division and modular. For example, 2 divided by 0.25 is 8. It's a it's an integer. Like 8 is an integer, but like it gives 8.0. And also for the remainder or modular, it gives 0, because when you divide 2 by 0.25, it gives you 8 and there is no remainder. But if like you're doing 1 divided by 0.3, it gives you 0.333. So you have a 0.1 remainder. And also we have the power for them only in Python. And also integer division for them works as like you will get an integer as an answer. This is the only difference. So even if it is like 0.56 divided by 0.7, the answer will be 0.8. While as like 0.8 is something between 0 and 1, you will get 0. So they are also not indexable and they pass by value. So we will worry about this part later, after we learn arrays and functions. Strings are the variables which are referred to plain text. They can like have any character in ASCII table, which I will explain later on in our course, which is like basically the thing that you need to know is all symbols, all characters, all numbers, and all alphabet, which are on your keyboard and you can type them. And also there are other things that you cannot type them by keyboard, but like the symbol exists, which we will get to it later. But a 15 as a string, like we can have 1, 5, 15 as a string, but that string is to some extent different than the integer version of 15, and we will see in our programs when we get to the actual coding. So they're always shown in double quotations, but like in Python, there is an exception. You can show them in single quotations too, but like in most cases, you will show characters with quotations, and we will get to characters later. So we will worry about strings now, because characters are one step further of strings. And also, like strings are shown in double quotations. So you can add to strings where, for example, you say THE plus BIRD. So we have two strings, the and bird. And when we add them, we get the bird. We'll get to like seeing all this stuff happening when we get to our IDLE, the interpreter for Python. And we will see that all this happen. But like right now, maybe you will be willing to play this video alongside the second video which I will post, which is on the practical trying on the IDLE. So they can be indexed. So we will see this when we learn, like I will tell you like next session that we meet on the IDLE, but they're pass by value, which we'll learn the pass by value later. And also there are more things to learn about strings. They have some functions related to them like split, like lowercase, like uppercase, which are like more sophisticated. And also it's the ASCII table, which we should know. And also characters are a subpart of strings. So if a string is the THE, like it's made of character T and character H and character E. So we will get to that later. And we have Booleans, which are switches like on or off. So if you have a switch key in your bedroom which turns on the light or turns off the light, it works like a Boolean. And also flags when they're up or they're down. It's either they're up or they're down. So if we don't have any case between, there are only two answers for one question. That question is answered by a Boolean. That shows a Boolean condition. So in programming, we refer to them as true or false. Where like it's also, if you want to, like in terms of converting, when we get to it after, like zero in integers is false, and anything except zero in integers or doubles is not like true. And also in strings, null is false, and anything except null means empty, an empty string with like two double quotations right next to each other is null. And if it's not null, then it's true. It's considered true when we convert it to Boolean. So for Booleans, you have like different sort of operators, which are logical operators. So we say they accept logical operators, not mathematical operators. So Booleans come here if we say like two things are equal. So 15 is equal to 15. Is that true? Then you say yes. So 15 equals 15 shows true. Also, we have bigger than. So is 15 bigger than 12? Then it's true. But if we say 15 and 17, it'll be false. So we have also smaller than, which works same as bigger than, which like checks if the value on the right side is bigger than is bigger than the value on the left side, or basically as we read mathematics from left to right, if the variable on the left is smaller than the variable on the right of the operator, and it will return true or false respectively. So we also have if like something does not equal another thing. So 15 not equals 15. It's false because they equal. So this one also works the reverse way as equals work. And we have is not bigger than, which is like is smaller or equal than, which is like the same as smaller and also one equal. And we have is not smaller than, which is a bigger than and an equal. So to just heads on that we have two equals for saying if they equal, because like if we put one, that's an assigning equal, that's an assigning equal sign. So we will get to that later when we get to variables, when you want to assign a value to a variable. Okay, we also have not operator, which turns a false into a true or a true to a false. And also we have OR. OR operator checks if two booleans are both true, one true and one false. And in that case, it returns true. But like if both of them are false, it returns false. And AND operator works as if two operators, two booleans are both true. Only in that case it returns true. And like if one of them is false and one of them is true, it will return false. If both of them are false, it will return false again. Okay, so we have a function called type. So when we get to the IDLE, I will show you that when we try like type of any variable, any value, or any variable which has a type, which has been assigned a type, you will check its type and it will return for type 5, it returns integer. For type hello world, it returns string because it's a text. And for type 4.6, as it has a decimal, it returns float in Python and double in Java because like we don't have that same type function in Java, but like type of 4.6 is double in Java and C++ and float in Python. And also we have a type of Boolean, which returns a Boolean. Like the type of true is a Boolean because true is a Boolean variable. Okay, so we will go to the IDLE for the next video and we will check what do any of these mean and how do the operators work. See you later. Take care.